Whitetail Addictions. The hunt is on. There's no going back now. It's in your blood. A primal need that must be met. It drives you. It consumes you. It takes you to the edge. What was once a simple pastime has now become your addiction. This season, come share the excitement with a group of fellow whitetail addicts from Lone Wolf. Learn from their time-tested techniques, as well as their mistakes, and be there to experience firsthand the highs and the lows we've all come to thrive on. They are do-it-yourselfers just like you. Their season begins the moment the last one ends. And when it comes time to release an arrow, they come up big. This is Lone Wolf's Whitetail Addictions. This week on Whitetail Addictions, we're heading to Wisconsin to meet up with Todd Myers and Joe Runde. Both of these guys are addicted to the pursuit of mature whitetails, and this week we're going to follow along on their hunts in both Wisconsin and Illinois for some exciting big buck action. This week on Whitetail Addictions. Todd Myers lives in the small town of Merton, Wisconsin, where he makes a living as a painter. Todd also spends a good amount of time working as a fishing guide for smallmouth bass, walleye, and trophy muskie. When the fish are biting, you can bet Todd will be cruising the waters somewhere in Wisconsin for his next wall hanger. But after taking a look around Todd's living room, one thing's for sure. When whitetail season opens up, Todd's hanging up his paintbrush and his fishing rods to pursue his favorite pastime, chasing big whitetails.
When I was about 12 years old, my father bought my brother and I a couple bows, little fiberglass, just recurve bows, and playing around in the yard with it. My dad kept telling me, "God, you're a good shot with that bow." And it was one of the only things he really ever told me I was good at, so I just kept getting better and better at it. I started shooting and shot my first deer with a bow when I was 13, and ever since then I've just been absolutely addicted to it. If I wasn't in my boat fishing because hunting was closed, I was out chasing deer. And I've been guiding for fishing for several years now. I've been fishing my whole life, and I'm really into trophy muskie and trophy walleye fishing. And the trophy walleye fishing I still get to do because in the spring of the year there's not a whole lot of whitetail stuff going on besides the shows and shed hunting. And I think when I took up muskie fishing, that made me much more patient of a deer hunter, because it's not like bass fishing where you catch a fish 50 a day. You got to put your time in to get a trophy, and it gives you better patience. And the only thing that hurts me is in the fall. I love muskie fishing, but whitetails rule the roost. There's nothing that's going to stop me from deer hunting. My addiction to whitetails started a long time ago, and it's really created a lot of havoc in my life. When I shot my first big buck, it was all downhill from there. I mean, there was no going back to work during the months of hunting season. I just couldn't do it. I was so addicted to whitetails. It's probably cost me hundreds of thousands of dollars in jobs. So it's pretty hard to run a full-time business and chase deer at the same time, because it's either one or the other. Either you're gonna work or you're gonna chase deer, and I'm gonna chase deer. That's just the way it is. That's what I live for. Take away my hunting, you take away me. That's who I am. That's what I like to do, and that's what I'll always do.
Welcome back to Whitetail Addictions. Todd Myers definitely puts in his time year-round to make sure once deer season opens up, he's ready for action. Whether it's practicing in the backyard, making sure his bow is dialed in, spending the early spring months walking the ridges close to home looking for shed antlers, or monitoring his trail camera photos in late summer trying to pattern his next quarry, he's always preparing for deer season. Todd's not only committed to the chase of mature bucks, he's willing to do whatever it takes to put a big buck on the ground. Whether he's using his canoe to access out-of-the-way spots most hunters won't go the extra mile to get to, or braving the harsh winter weather that the Midwest can dish out during the late season, Todd always goes that extra step to be in the game. Even though Todd Myers spends a lot of his time chasing deer close to home, his favorite place to bow hunt would have to be Central Illinois. During the 2007 archery season, Todd made his annual trip to Illinois during his favorite time of the year, the peak of the rut. He knows that this is his best chance of catching a mature buck on his feet during daylight hours.
This year in Central Illinois, I had 12 days to hunt. I hunted hard, but the conditions were really tough. Every day was different. The wind was always wrong for me. Extremely windy. Hard to film, hard to hear anything. Seen big bucks every day, just couldn't get on them. It's big country down there. Deer have a lot of room to roam. Finally, the last day, a couple hours left to go, I finally got it done.
For the first week of his hunt, Todd was seeing great deer movement, and the bucks were definitely on the prowl. Todd figured it would be just a matter of time before one of the mature bucks he was seeing would make a mistake and come too close to his tree stand. Every hunter knows that rutting activity can be very random at best, and a big buck can show up anywhere at any given time during this part of the season. Little did Todd know that it wouldn't be until the 12th day of his hunt that he would finally be in the right place at the right time. On the final morning of his hunt, the action got started before daylight, when a couple of young bucks came cruising by Todd's stand looking for a receptive doe. As the sun began to rise, so did the level of deer movement, with bucks chasing does all around Todd's stand.
Today's November 15th. It's the last day of the early Illinois bow season. Been down here for 11 days. Seen just unbelievable bucks. Just can't seem to get the one I need in range. It's only been light for about 15-20 minutes. I've seen probably 8-9 bucks already. Smaller ones chasing does. I've seen one good one on the way in, but nothing huge yet. I know they'll be cruising, checking these bedding areas. It's cold this morning, first cold morning in a while. Wind's out of northwest, about 20 miles an hour. Hopefully something happens today. It's my last chance. I got till like 2 o'clock and I gotta go, so gotta get her done.
Even though it was the last day of his hunt, Todd passed on this nice young buck, still hoping to get a crack at one of the mature bucks he'd seen earlier in his hunt. Minutes later, another decent buck shows up on the scene, but it's still not what Todd was looking for. With so many bucks in the area, Todd knew there had to be a hot doe close by. Just what he needed to attract a mature buck.
Bucks that are 150 or bigger by me right now. The one I just shot's gotta be good 160s. Just a beautiful buck. Yes, thank you, Lord. I've been waiting for this moment for 12, 11 days. I've been hunting my ass off. Whew. I hope I got him on camera. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Look at that back home, boys. Now you know why I'm hunting Illinois, why I can't work in November.
Congratulations on a great Illinois whitetail, Todd. Whitetail Addictions will be right back.
Every aspect of this stand was designed for the mobile hunter. How it integrates, everything works together in unison. A guy packing in miles, a guy who's constantly, taking the stand down, moving at different locations.
You got him. Welcome back to Whitetail Addictions. Some of you might recognize our next addict from the first 2 seasons of Whitetail Addictions, Joe Runde. Joe has been filming his own hunts for years and has managed to capture some awesome footage for us over the last 2 seasons. Joe harvested a couple of great bucks in Season 1, the first while filming on his own, then his second with the help of his father behind the camera. Then in Season 2, Joe harvested his best bow kill to date with this super wide buck from Wisconsin. Joe is definitely addicted to chasing big bucks, but he may actually be even more addicted to running his own camera and trying to capture all of his hunts on video.
I started filming my hunts when I was 14 years old. I always had a desire, as far back as I can remember, to hunt for television shows. That's what I wanted to do for a living. Still want to. Haven't done it, but I've done fairly well for myself. Past probably 6 years or so, I managed to get on some good bucks, put them down on film. A couple videotaped myself. Actually mostly videotaped myself and a handful with my old man. Anymore, I can't imagine going out in the woods without a camera. I don't really know any other way. I've been doing it so long. It's just a lot of fun to go back and share the footage, on your hunts with your family, friends, and of course watch it myself a few times here and there. And I guess I just wouldn't have it any other way.
During the early Wisconsin archery season, Joe found a particular patch of acorns that seemed to be attracting a lot of attention from the area's wildlife. So Joe immediately hung a stand in the oaks and returned for a morning hunt. At first light, this young buck showed up for a quick snack before bedding down for the day. As the sun began to rise, a couple of does began to filter into the area also. As Joe watched the does feed contently on the fallen mast crop, he caught a glimpse of something moving through the head-high CRP in front of his stand. Joe knew at first glance this was a buck he would harvest if given the opportunity. But the big buck stopped 40 yards out, quartering towards Joe, not offering a shot he was willing to take. As the big 8-point cautiously surveyed his surroundings, Joe patiently waited for the buck to present a broadside shot. Sensing something wasn't right, the big 8-pointer decides to turn around and leave the area.
Meh. 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 Eh, eh. Eh.
And even though Joe attempts to call the buck back, the big whitetail has made up his mind to go.
That's exactly what I was looking for here. Real nice 8-pointer. 3.5-year-old.
The following morning, Joe was ready to head back into the oak patch. But this time, he recruited his father to man the camera. And before the pair are set up and ready to go, the big 8-point is right on top of them. After giving the buck ample time to expire, Joe takes up the blood trail. But when he finds marginal sign of what he thought looked like a lethal hit, he opts to do the smart thing and give the buck a little more time. Joe and his dad returned later that afternoon to take up the trail again. And after a short tracking job, they spot the big 8-point.
That's a good deal there.
Congratulations on an awesome trophy whitetail, Joe.